In this video, we'll walk through how to set up your company information in the admin website. Here I have the Chrome browser open, and I'm going to log in to the website. And the first thing you see is the company information page. We're going to click Edit Company Details, and here we can fill in everything that's not already filled in from when you signed up for your account. Your address should already be here. You can fill in your company logo here. For now, you can ignore the zone. This was used for the heat load calculator, but this is going to be removed in a future release. You can set your time zone, and the legal text that's going to show up at the bottom of your tickets. I have some here already that I'll paste in. And you can set what the name of your service agreements are. Some companies might not call them service agreements. They might call them customer discounts or yearly maintenance agreements. So we'll leave it as service agreements and hit save. Next, we're going to pick which catalogs we want to show up in our company. There's two types of catalogs, a public catalog and a private catalog. Public catalogs are available to all companies in the XactRate system. We can take a look at a public catalog here by clicking Add Existing Catalogs. And right now we have two catalogs in here, the Linux Equipment Catalog and a generic Parts and Supplies Catalog. I'm going to add both to the company now. And here you can see that they've been added to my public catalogs. If you wanted to add a private catalog, this would be something that no other company in the XactRate system could see. This would be for custom products that you'd want to add, things that only your company sells. You can do this by grabbing our Excel template and uploading the file in here. If you'd like to import a large amount of products, you can import them using that template, but if your product categories are a bit complicated, we can set them up and import the data for you. While we're here, you'll notice that you can drill into the catalog and see the different categories, and inside the categories you can see the different products and their different attributes. The first column here is QP product, which stands for Quick Pick product. We'll get into that in another video. But for now, we're going to leave it with two public catalogs set up for this company. Next is the users in your company. We already have Joe Smith set up, who is the company admin for this company. This is the user that you entered when you signed up for XactRate. If you had signed up for more than one license, you will be able to create more than one user. For instance, now, the role of a user can be one of these three options, either a company admin, a mobile user, or a company officer. A company admin is either the owner of the company or the person responsible for entering financial data into the system, as well as setting up the catalogs and the users. You don't want everybody to be able to do this, obviously. A company officer would be someone who uses the software from the office. This would be someone like your dispatcher, someone who's setting up service calls, scheduling for the different users, and someone who can run timesheet reports and things like that. And a mobile user is, of course, someone who only needs access to the mobile tablet app, someone who's out in the field and doesn't need to be able to log into the administrative website to run reports and things like that. I'm going to leave this user as a company admin. Click Save, and there we go. So keep in mind that each user account can only be logged into the mobile app in one device at a time, whether it's an iPad or on a desktop PC or a Mac. If you find that you left your account logged in somewhere else, a company admin has to log in, or an office user, so they can log out the account by coming to this screen right here and clicking Allow User to Change Device. If you try and log in to two devices at once, it'll tell you that you can't log in, it's logged in somewhere else. So once you click this, it will log that person out of the device that they're logged in, and then you can log into another device, either on a PC or an iPad. From here, you can also change the password, and you can get timesheet data, which we'll get into in another video. Next are the company clients. This is where you list all the clients for your company, all your customers. Most people will not just enter these one by one, so you'll want to import them from a template. We have another Excel template for this that we can send you. It's pretty easy to get your client data into this format. It lists the client name, which can either be their last name or the company name, first name, last name, email, phone number, all their contact data. And whether or not the bill to address is the same, you'll either put true or false in this column. And if it's false, you'll want to list the bill to information. And you would just find that file, clicking choose file here and uploading it. We have one client in the system right now. When you have several, this will page through and you can see all your different clients, or you can search for a client by name. And from here you can see the tickets that they have on file. Right now this client doesn't have any tickets, they're brand new. And from here you can also click schedule to go to the schedule page, or you can roll your mouse up here and click schedule. This is where the dispatcher will set up service calls for clients when the call comes in, and we'll get into this in another video as well. So that's it as far as the company information page. In the next video, we're going to talk about setting up your company metrics. In this video, I'm going to walk you through setting up your company metrics. You probably already know that XactRate helps you take control of the financial aspects of your HVAC business. We do this by giving your technicians the tools they need to accurately price out service and installation jobs. Using what we call the break-even method, XactRate uses your company's actual financials to ensure that you make a profit by calculating exactly how much you need to charge for labor in order to break even, and then adds on your desired profit. This isn't just a flat rate pricing book that becomes obsolete as soon as you receive it. XactRate is the only system that will automatically adjust your labor pricing as your company's financial data changes. So we'll go up to the Setup menu and click on Metrics to get to this screen. And first we see company settings. Here we're going to fill in how many hours per week the business is open. If you're open 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's 40. If you're open on Saturdays, add a little more. Sundays, same thing. The net labor profit is how much you want to profit on top of your break-even number. So I'd like to profit 20% on my labor. The warranty reserve is how much money you want to put aside to account for warranty callbacks. You still need to pay your technicians when they go on those jobs, so you want to be able to account for that. I'm going to put in 1.5%. And the contingency on products is how much you want to put aside to account for the products that need replacing. I'll put in 1.5% for that and click Save. Now it automatically calculated the work hours in a year. You don't necessarily need to know that, but it's going to factor into the total hourly labor rate, which will be displayed here once all of your metrics are in place. Next is the product profits. The system needs to know how much profit you want to make on the products you sell. So here you can set a profit matrix to specify what the profit should be at different price points. So I'm going to click Create New, and my first price point is going to be up to 50 cents. And I want it to be a 6 times multiplier for anything up to 50 cents. The next level will be $1. So this is anything between 50 cents and $1. I'm going to want to make 5 times. Next will be $2, 4 times, and so forth. So I went ahead and filled in the rest of the rows here for prices up to $10, 2.5 times, up to $50, 2 times, $100, 1.5 times, and the max would be 1.3 times profit. Of course, this can be whatever you want. These are just for example purposes. Or you could just put in one level here. It could be this max number, and you can put in whatever constant profit you want to make on your products. Next, we'll take a look at the tax settings. Here you'll fill in all of your local and state level taxes, as well as the federal and Social Security taxes you have to pay on your staff and your service department. I'll go ahead and fill these in now. Okay, I went ahead and filled in all of the tax rates with some example numbers. Just reference your tax documents to see what numbers you need to put in here. And next is the billing efficiency. On this screen, you're specifying how efficient your workforce is on average. In other words, how many hours did they bill for compared to how many total hours they worked. So this will take a little bit of homework. First, pick a time range. It can be 1 week or it can be a year. The longer range you go back, the better your average number will be. You go back to your invoices and timesheets over this time period and count how many billable hours you collected for, and this number will go under the billed hours. So let's just say I'm going to, for this example, go back 1 week, and let's say we only billed, 30 hours this past week, and then count how many hours your technicians logged. This number will go under worked hours. So it was a 40-hour work week. Let's say they worked 40 hours. This is also known as the available billable hours. This is how many possible hours the technicians could have billed for. So for example, if you chose to use 4 weeks of historical data, and if you had 2 salespeople available to work 40 hours a week each, over the last 4 weeks there would be available to work about a total of 160 hours each, or 320 combined. This would be entered in the available billable hours. And let's say over the last 4 weeks you only billed a total of 260 labor hours. This would be entered into the billed hours box. So all we're coming up with here is a ratio. This basically becomes how efficient your team is, how many hours they're actually billing for compared to how much they're working, or how much you're paying them. So next we come to the overhead expenses. This is where you put in all of your expenses for the previous 12 months. Per month. Doing it per month allows you to have a rolling window where every month you can come in and change last year's amount. So for instance, right now we're in February. So you would have all of your months filled in here, and at the end of February, say March 1st, you would come in here and change the amount of expenses that you spent in the past month. That way you have a rolling 12-month window of the expenses your company's spending. You start off with one category called general expenses. However, you can create more. You click on this button and you can create as many categories as you want. You can make it match what you have in QuickBooks. You can do it by division, whatever you feel like is necessary. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to leave it as general expenses. And whatever categories you have listed over here, they are going to show up in all of these edit screens here. So when I click on edit for January, you just see general expenses. If I had 3 other categories here, those would also show up here, and then you can list all of them individually for the month of January. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in some general numbers for these months, and I'm going to pause the video and be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've filled in a dollar amount for every month of the year in the general expenses category. So like I was saying before, let's say that it is now March 1st, and I total up all the expenses from the company from last month. I can edit February, which now holds February from last year, and I can update this to whatever the total happens to be this month. Now by doing this, you're helping adjust your labor rate to make sure that it's calculating the break even properly and giving you the profit that you need. So the next section is employees. Here you're going to list all of your hourly and your salary employees. I'll enter an hourly employee first. Let's say John Smith. And let's say he's an hourly employee and he's making $16 an hour. He works 40 hours a week. He's given, let's say, 10 paid days off per year and no unpaid days off. And this line here is sales unit. This means that this employee is responsible for bringing money in when they work. In other words, they can bill for hours. You might have an hourly employee who is at the office, but they are not directly responsible for billing out hours, so they would not be a sales unit. This person is. He's a technician, so he goes out in the field and his hours are billed to the client. So we're going to check that as is sales unit. And I should note that when you are calculating the billing efficiency, you're counting employees that are sales units. You're not counting people that work in your office or are helpers. They cannot bill hours, so you're only counting those sales units when you're filling in these numbers. So let's go back to employees. Let's say we have one more employee who is a helper. And he is hourly, makes $12 an hour. Maybe he works 20 hours a week and he gets no paid days off. He's part-time. I'm not going to check his sales unit simply because he's a assistant, a helper, and he is not directly responsible for billing out hours. Sometimes you might have an employee who is. You send employees out, helpers out, and you want to bill for their hours. You can go ahead and check that. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it off. And let's say you have somebody in the office, a dispatcher or a secretary taking the calls. She's on salary, let's say $30,000 per year, 40 hours a week. Say you give her 10 paid days off, and that's it. So now when I go back to the company settings tab, I should see the hourly labor rate listed here. Now, according to the numbers I put in, this company has to charge $260.44 per hour. They have to charge that to their customers in order to not only break even, but to make the 20% profit. And this is based on the numbers that we put in as far as the overhead expenses for the whole year, how efficient the workers are working, and the employee salaries, and how much the company is open. So in this case, I think what's happening here is because this employee is working 40 hours a week, getting paid $12 an hour, but he is not bringing in any money, that's not a good thing. These are the kind of things that companies will not understand until it's too late, and they'll find that they're not making a profit. So if we click edit and change him to a sales unit, which means that his hours are going to be billed when he's out in the field, he's going to bill for his hours. Now we come back up to company settings and we can see that the hourly rate dropped to $128.12. That's including the profit for the company. So based on all the numbers given here at this current time, by charging that per hour, and based on getting about 30 billable hours per week, the company will be making a 20% profit on their labor. So now I can show you how this will be affected if something goes wrong. You have a really bad month and you have all these sudden unexpected expenses pop up, whatever it might be. You had to buy a new truck, something like that. Let's just add another, I don't know, $10,000 to this month in expenses. Now your hourly rate before was $128 something. Now it's $132. So this shows you that it's keeping an eye on what you need to do to your rate in order to maintain the current amount of profit that you're making. Now at this time, filling in these expenses is a manual process. I mean, every month you're going to have to run your report in your financial software, find out what your total expenses were, and fill it in here. In a future release, we'll hope to get a QuickBooks download, a QuickBooks import into this section. And another thing we're hoping to do in the future is to automate this section. As far as the hours that a technician works, because the system is going to be tracking how much they're using the system, and it's going to be tracking how many hours they billed for, this number should fluctuate every so often. It should adjust itself. It's not doing that now, but we're looking at that for a future release. But right now, you should revisit this maybe once a month when you go to update your expenses, your monthly expenses. It's probably a good idea to come in here and adjust your efficiency in case things have changed. So that's it as far as setting up your company metrics.